YouTube, it's a very beautiful day. I'm going to date this right now by saying it is Thanksgiving. Yeah. How do you feel about that, Ziza? Yeah? Well, what is Thanksgiving? It is a day that we celebrate about a month before Christmas where we give thanks and where we say what we're grateful for. And in about an hour, I'll be sitting in front of our whole entire extended Mohr family, and we'll say a prayer, right, Aziza? And in that prayer, we'll also say what we are thankful for. Yeah, what we're thankful for. And so today, I want to talk to you about, well, a few things. First of all, the most controversial lyric I've ever spit on the mic. Well, there are a few, but I want to address quite a bit of them, and especially one in the song Asante Sana, which we just released. So the last 3 days have been super crazy. I woke up one morning with just this, oh my gosh, we're not going to release Trailblazers this Friday. We're going to release Asante Sana. Asante Sana is Swahili for thank you very much. And Yesu means what? Jesus. Asante Sana Yesu means thank you very much, Jesus. That's right. And so, how did that song come about, first and foremost? Well, I want to address that and so many more things. But first of all, I want to address one of the comments. Somebody said, I shouldn't read the comments, but somebody said, why do you only feature Kibera? First of all, we're not only featuring Kibera, we're also featuring prison ministry. Oh, it's so cool! You got to see this. And the Maasai tribe Olympics. We do our Maasai Olympics with our jump high contest, and we've done three in a row now. And so we also feature rural Kenya. We feature some beautiful places, but in this case, we are featuring a lot in the beginning and the end of Kibera, which is the largest slum in Africa. So why feature it and why highlight, well, this place? Well, the first time I went and visited Kibera, it was 1999, and my heart broke for it. I remember seeing the trash piled up outside. I remember being told it was not safe enough for me to go inside, and I remember thinking, oh, these poor, desperate people. See, where I was raised, there is no abject poverty. There are no trash cities. There are no piles of trash. We we have a lot to be thankful for. And for instance, Caesar, what do you got on your feet? Show me. What kind of shoes? What's the song? My Adidas. How many pairs of shoes do you have, Ziza? Yes. Two? 10? More? Yeah. See, we have a lot to give thanks for because in a place like Kibera, a kid may not have one pair of shoes. And if they do, it's probably only one. So my heart broke for this place, and so I wrote a song called Nairobi. You should check it out. It's on To the Foundation, and it's about people living in abject poverty. It's about what are we going to do to make a difference. And here are some things that you need to know about Kibera. First of all, there's in many places 20 years ago there was no running water, no electricity. People had to use lanterns, and if no running water, that means no toilets. And essentially, what that means is, well, you can do the math. Where are you going to go if the nearest public toilet is a mile away, and it's night, and you're a woman, and you could get raped if you go and try and walk the streets because you have to use the facility? Where are you going to go? What are you going to do? So what is very common there is what they call, wait for it, flying toilets. Yeah.
Praise God has changed.
What'd you say?
I said, I think it has changed recently. Praise God for that.
Yeah.
They got
So they would use a plastic bag. They would do their duty in the plastic bag and then throw it as far as they can from them. They still do it, but not as much.
yeah, that was
They throw it on their neighbor's roof. They throw it on the ground. They throw it wherever they throw it. It is that bag eventually decomposes, and what the end result is yeah, fecal matter all over everything, and it's super super dangerous. Bacteria, infections, disease. You can imagine. So my heart broke for what I considered at that time these oppressed people by the system. It started off as a refugee camp, and I wanted to make a difference. Is feeding everybody a difference? Is giving everybody kinds of things that I was asking, and it gets even worse. See, the people rent for like maybe $25 a month this small little room that's like about the size of two of these minivans, and 8 people will live there. They'll sleep on the floor, on mats, on whatever. But when it rains, all that fecal matter, all that mud, flood, it comes in.
still up to this day.
Still up to this day. We went and visited some families, and it's rough. So we go on mission trips there. And to be frank, of all the places we visit, whether it's trash cities in Honduras or, places in Guatemala, some rough spots, this is definitely one of the roughest. What did you think the first time you went to Canberra, Aziza? Went to Canberra, drug lords protect us. So we had to hire the gangs in order to protect us from robbers and thieves. Because we come in, you can imagine there's a target on our heads. So Ziza's locked in a car with a nanny, and all these kids are outside the car. And I don't know if do you remember what you did, Ziza? You rolled down the window, and you gave them all of your snacks, all of your granola bars, all of your candy. You started. We had to stop you from giving every single thing that you owned from these kids. You had a heart for giving it to them and for blessing them, and that is the kind of heart that continues in this music video. As we're in Canberra in this music video, you're doing something to the kids. You remember what you're doing? Giving them clothing. Who makes the clothing? Your grandma and all of her friends. And what does it feel like to clothe somebody like that? Does it feel bad? Is it okay? Is it great? Yeah, it's better to give than to receive. Yeah, definitely. Anything you want to say about all that, Abby?
Uh, Maybe the first time I went,
Yeah.
I felt overwhelmed in the sense of, um, I could have millions of dollars, and I felt like, I wouldn't change it or fix the situation. That's how I felt, even though I was given and things like that. Um, but then I remember feeling a little depressed about it, and this random person came up to me, a Kenyan, said that God just told me that I need to tell you this, and he said something like, you know, don't take for granted what you're doing here, um, in the spiritual realm. You're breaking a lot of barriers, walls of barriers, and things will change here because of it. And what is most important is giving people a hope, um, something even more substantial to hold on to, which is the Word of God, which is God's love, that God loved them. Because growing up in that way, some people could have the idea that God doesn't love them. So that really,
And they also said something. They said something about haven't you seen the difference from the first time you came
yeah,
till most recently?
yeah, yeah. Because the first time it wasn't like electricity. There wasn't any toilets, things like that. And I remember the second time we came, they had electricity. I saw electricity running. I saw they had put up a bunch of public toilets closer to the neighborhood, things like that. So yeah,
Essentially, Kibera is the the Samaria, if you will, of Nairobi in certain ways. Well, it's where the vast majority of the workers live, refugees, foreigners, the poor of the poor that can't afford to live somewhere else, which they, millions live there. And but everybody that lives outside of there kind of pretends it doesn't exist. Would you say?
yeah,
They kind of like, oh, in fact that's probably why some people are like, why are you featuring Kibera?
yeah,
Because there's so many other beautiful places. So you're saying there's no beauty there. Now you said
yeah,
something there that really touched me. You said, people feel like God is kind of like maybe giving them a bum rap, or like they're in this bad spot and maybe it's God's fault. And I know that some people would feel that way when they would come and they would say, "Hey, is this sickness?" They would say to Jesus, "Is this sickness because the person's cursed?" And he basically said that it's so that God can show His heart, so that God can reveal and make a change. We are seeing those changes happen in Kibera. They're not happening as quickly as we would like, but when we went the first time to minister there and set up a stage, it was a vision, a goal that I had been working on for 12 or 15 years at least, maybe 20 years. It was not easy to set up a stage, not easy to do a concert, for a free concert in the heart of Kamkunji grounds. But we saw thousands of people impacted by the gospel, and it was life changing. But something else happened. We were on TV, on the Churchill Live show and on other shows, and we were featuring and telling everybody we're doing a free concert in Cabera. They're like, "Why are you going to Cabera?" And so we kind of put a spotlight on this area for the politicians. And each time we come back, we put a spotlight on it for the world to say, focus on what God is doing here, because God has not forsaken this place. In fact, that's what I want to get to as we continue on about this. So my brother, as we're going to see him right now, my brother saw going to Haiti and saw such an impact in our lives. He was having some issues with his daughter. He and his wife, Lisa, they were having some problems with their daughter. She was depressed. She was suicidal. She was in a funk. She was in a downward spiral. It was getting really bad. Things she was doing to herself, and how it was affecting not only herself but her family.
okay,
And you're gonna stay on this lane. And so they said, hey, could you take her to Kenya? And we offered for her to come. She she leapt at it, and it changed her life. What did it do to her?
uh, I guess it opened her eyes to reality of how different people live around the world, and realize that, man, I have so much to give thanks for. This little thing, simple as having water in my tap. It's a I have so much to be thankful for.
Yeah, a lot of people have re-entry guilt when they come back from a place like that. I can brush my teeth with and run the water on my toothbrush from the sink and put it in my mouth and not get sick. I'm just wasting water. I have a toilet that flushes. I have too much clothing. I need to get rid of all this stuff. There's a lot of guilt that people face. Re-entry. We actually have to debrief as we come back from a place like that, because it's tough on us. It's tough on us to deal with that. The things we take for granted here are, would be a huge blessing there. And so I guess one thing that we can learn from this is, in everything, give,
Thanks for what we've got.
even though we may not have a lot. We give thanks for what we've got. And I understand the desire of helping the poor in Kibera is coming from a great place, but to be honest, as I've gone there more and more, I have to say that Kibera has helped me.
Yeah,
Would you say so?
yeah,
it's changed me probably more than I have changed it. I just can't really explain it in words, but okay. So I'm here. I mean, imagine I'm in Nairobi. We're staying in this apartment that we rented. The whole band's in one place. We we have these ladies who live in Kibera cooking for us, and they're getting paid dollars a day. We're going and buying this food, chapati. It's like a kind of a roti and some beans and different stuff, and they're cooking for us. And they know how to pinch a dime. They know how to pinch a penny, should I say, and cook cheaply. We're on a missions trip. We're sitting down with Kefa from Tundem Band, the guy who sings on this song, and some of the other band members, former members like Kathy and Shoeshine, and we're breaking chapati, we're breaking bread, and before we eat, what do, Ziza, before we eat? And how do you say thank you very much in Swahili? Asante sana Yesu is what whenever we're in a local place, a different place in the region, I will ask the local person to pray in their own language. And when he was praying Asante sana Yesu, Kefa said those words, I started thinking, Asante sana Yesu. And I'm like, hey, what rhymes with Yesu? How do you say God? Mungu. Ah, perfect. Asante sana Mungu. Every day, in every way. Ooh. That's what I wrote right there at the table. And then I started having this conversation with them. And Tuned In Band, we just found out as we're talking about Kibera, as we're debriefing, we realized, wait a minute, you guys are from there? Every single one of the band members are from the largest slum in Africa, one of the largest slums in the world. The entire band is from there. Do they live there now? No. They got out. So I started asking, how'd you get out? Thinking like not being there is so much better than being there. And as we started asking questions, did you really use a flying toilet? Well, everybody did, they would say. How far would you have to go in order to get this? Did you live like this? How many people lived in a house or in a shack? What did you do when it rained? These are all questions we would ask, and we were kind of flabbergasted as they talked about it, like it was just normal. It was commonplace for them. But we realized something else. As we were talking to them, they would say things like, "Those are some of the best days of my life." We'd be like, "What?" Do you remember when they said that?
Yeah.
I was like, "How in the world could living without plumbing, could having a flying toilet, could not having a good pair of shoes or this or that be one of the best places of their lives?" I'll never forget what they said. They said, "I didn't have a care in the world. Now I have rent. Now I have to work. I have a car to pay for. I have a this or this or that." And there was something to be said about that. That for me was a paradigm shift. How did it affect you, baby?
Yeah, and just to see how God worked in their life and how thankful they are. They were really thankful for what they've got and where they come from. It wasn't like, for me one kind of thing.
Yeah.
So it kind of opened my eyes in a different aspect of it. And the difference was between, I'm sure there are some people who are not like that,
Yes, of course.
but the difference between them and the people who are not God.
That is the difference. They have God. They had God in their lives. And Abby, as we were talking, did it ever remind you of growing up?
Oh yeah, definitely.
I mean, you had 12 brothers and sisters crammed into some small places. How many people would you fit on one mattress?
Oh, probably sometimes 7 of us was sleeping in bed when we were growing up.
And then one of the kids would
pee in bed.
So what would you do when the kid peed bed?
Oh, he just rolled in that pee.
Oh gosh! And then you put it out in the sun because, as you always say, the sun is the disinfectant, right?
Yeah.
She would sun the mattress and sleep on it the next night. Yeah, so that's a different. And there were times when you couldn't afford to get sugar or afford to get. You had to choose between a pound of sugar and this pound of salt, right?
Yeah, yeah.
What did you choose?
Salt.
Salt, because you can cook.
Yeah.
It can go longer and you can cook more with it.
Yeah.
And so, tell them about a little tree stone fire that you would do, or something like that, with some when you didn't have food at all. Okay, first of all, when you woke up, what would you eat for breakfast? It was beautiful and it was on trees.
He's talking about the flowers.
You would eat flowers.
Yeah, those flowers you could eat.
And how did you? Well, tell us about a little tree stone fire cook off.
We would a lot of times put three stones together, put some sticks in there, and grind some yam, wild yams, and roast it. Good stuff.
So there you have it, tree stone fire. Cook some yams, throw in some salt, and continue to play. Kids are cooking and then climbing trees while it's cooking.
Yeah.
So I guess what you're trying to say is, even though you didn't have a lot, you gave thanks for what you got, for what you had, and I guess learning the secret of being happy regardless of the circumstance is so crucial. The most controversial lyrics that I've written, I'm going to get to it in a minute. But I guess what I want to say is a few things. You know, why is it that people can go from Kibera to out of Kibera and be overwhelmed or have issues? In many ways, it's the finances. We've created a society that is so commercial. It's all about what you can get and what you can have, and get more and have more. And the prophet Biggie Small said, "More money, more problems." And I love it. I love the guys who was it Bizzle, Dayton. They said, "God over money." That's such the anti mindset in hip hop. But God over money, and the heart of that is this: Matthew 6:33. Seek first His kingdom and His righteousness, and all these things will be added unto you. Do the lilies of the field, do the pansies, do the roses worry about what they're wearing tomorrow, or what the next season, the line of next season's line of clothing is going to be? Will it fit? They don't worry about that stuff. No, God clothes them. Or squirrels stressing? Are they rolling and tossing and turning in their beds at night, saying, "Will I find that nut tomorrow?" No. We're the only ones that worry. Are chimpanzees freaking out over taxes? No, they're not. What does I do each year? So God takes care of these things. These things that He did not make in His own image, will He not take care of you if you just put your trust in Him? If you focus on the provider and not the provision. So don't stress about what you eat, what you wear, what you have, what you don't have. You see, our possessions, they don't possess us. But in this culture, in this day and age, they kind of do. You want to know what the will of God is in your life? Do you know what God's will is? What is God's will? Well, should I go here? Should I go there? Should I marry this person? Should I not? What should I study? What job should I have? What is God's will for my life? I don't know. I know what God's will is right here. You ready? 1 Thessalonians 5:16 through 18. Boom! Rejoice. Sometimes? No. Rejoice always. Pray every once in a while. Pray without ceasing, without stopping. Pray continually. And give thanks every once in a while. Always. Give thanks in all circumstances, for this is God's will for you in Christ Jesus our Lord. Okay, Jesus, say this with me. Rejoice always. Pray continually. Give thanks in all circumstances. So I'm going to break that down. She's jet lagged from Vietnam. Rejoice, pray, thanks. That's what we need to do. That is our message to you right now, this Thanksgiving. And now, for the Most controversial lyrics I've ever written, I've ever recorded. You ready? Okay. Probably one of them would be Upside Down. LGBTQRSTUV. Which one are you? They say, don't you judge me. God loves you the way you are, through thick and through thin, but He loves you too much to let you stay in your sin. That one's pretty controversial, would you say? But it's out of love. It's a paradigm shift. It's God loves you that way. What? But He doesn't want you to stay that way. I want to wake people up to realize that God doesn't hate the sinner. He loves the sinner. He hates the sin. Because the sin hates the sinner. Your sin hates you. But that's probably not the most controversial thing that I've said. People have sang that before. Here's another one. Do you remember what you say in Medicine for the World? I saw a beggar. Can you try and sing it if you remember? I saw a beggar in the sidewalk. Tattered Bible. Tattered Bible. He was dying on the outside. Dying on the outside. But truly living from within. I've lived in a Western world where so many are healthy, but so few that truly see they're dying of a sickly disease. There it is. That's my beautiful wife. I can't believe you remember those lyrics. We've only performed like twice. So that's the first paradigm shift that I want to talk about. Is it is very similar to the next one. It's we have this mindset in the West. It's all about health. It's all about, okay. For instance, gotta eat me that veggie burger. Oh no, I got a better one. It's called a Beyond Burger. Woo! How about we drop the Impossible Burger? It's so great. There's no meat. It's the best thing in the world for you. And so I was eating them. I was like, this is awesome. And then I realized it's got like 5 times the sodium. I'm like, what the heck? May not have cholesterol, as much cholesterol, but wow. So we're so about the health. We almost worship the health. I see some people at the gym literally worshiping the health. And it's a great thing to take care of yourself. But we can't put that above God. And in a Western world where we live, oh man, we're seeing all these ladies get this, they're like coming to church, they're like, ooh, they can't even move their face anymore. Like a lip furl like this. It's like, what the heck is going on? They're trying to look a certain way. They look great on the outside, and they may be physically healthy, but so few they have truly seen. They're dying of a sin disease. So that's the paradigm shift. You see a person that isn't healthy in a third world country, and there's a joy inside of them. There's this, they're full of Christ. They have life. They have eternal life. And even in abject poverty, they have abundant life. Even though they may not have a lot, they give thanks for what they've got. And so these friends of mine from Kibera are some of the most whole, some of the most blessed, some of the most encouraging people that I know. How could they be that way in abject poverty? Well, how do you define poverty? And what poverty really matters? Which one is more detrimental? Which brings us to our next most controversial lyric. You ready? The most controversial lyric is probably this one. And I've been around the world and I still can't understand why how the rich upon the hilltop so high on the poor man in the gully they must die. But the poor they are grateful though they don't have a lot. The rich are ungrateful for what they've got. So me take a look closer at what do I see? So many rich they are truly in poverty. Why am I giving this video right now? Because of those lyrics. Because I am scared to death that you will misunderstand what I'm trying to say in that. Here's what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to say that poverty is a mindset. And the poverty that really matters, the one that's the most dangerous, the one that kills eternally, is spiritual poverty. That is abject poverty. I was raised in Palos Verdes Peninsula. My parents were looking for a house for a very, very long time, and they lived literally 2 blocks from the airport. We would hear the planes. I mean, all the time. LAX. We were like, you could see the planes. It was so loud. Not the best place. It was close to my dad's work. Wasn't the best place. So for a few years, my parents were looking for a house. They couldn't afford much, and finally, I did just put a place before the Lord, saying, God, if we don't find a place by this date, we're just gonna stay where we're at. And on that day, my dad went and looked at a house. And my dad, if you know anything about my dad, he is the most calculated, the most well thought and meticulous person in the world. Would you agree? My dad doesn't do anything on a whim. He goes and looks at the house and buys it without my mom even seeing it. And he bought it for, well, I don't think there's anything wrong with saying this. He bought it for $70,000. And he got it for so cheap because the previous owner killed himself in the garage. And, you have to, of course, disclose that when you're selling a house. And everybody's like, oh, I ain't getting that place. By the way, that same garage that some people may think was haunted or whatever, that same garage is where Christ Bar got started doing band practice. So it was definitely, as we were writing these songs and practicing, we were just like, wow, somebody literally died in this place. I think it was carbon monoxide poisoning. So they got it for super cheap. And it was about 45 minutes from LA. Nobody wanted to live there. And then, boom, the place becomes the richest per capita city in America for a time. Really, really rich people are living there. And, like, we're not talking like, I mean, of course, Bruce Lee lived there. Chuck Norris lived there. Bruce Springsteen lived there. But not the elite in Hollywood. We're talking the ones with the real money, the brain surgeons, the children's pediatric eye surgeons, the ones with the long-lasting, not showy money. They live there, and I was raised in this place, and I remember there was a time when my mom would have a budget for the entire month for the four of us, $100, so we would have like pizza that was a tortilla with cheese and pesto and pasta sauce and cut up hot dogs. And if one of my friends came over to the house and ate a hot dog, our family wasn't eating. We were just having cheese pizza that night. And tortilla is not a pizza. We got creative. We didn't eat out. We didn't have that kind of money. But I was surrounded by the richest people. I mean, all the kids in my school got their car at like 15 and a half, and they were nice cars. Oh, DeLoreans, and I mean, like Back to the Future cars. It was ridiculous. And here I was bringing a lunch bag with my name on it, written by my mom, to school when everybody else was driving off to go and eat at some nice restaurant during lunch. It wasn't easy. I'm not saying I was poor by any means, but I was not rich. But I was watching this rich, and now I realize years later that we are some of the richest people in the world. Did you know that? And here's the true test, right? You ready? Reach into your pocket. I have that much in my pocket, okay? Did you know that if you have change in your pocket, you're one of the top 5% most richest people in the world? If you have change or money in a bank, a lot of the world doesn't have that. If you have a junk drawer at home, do you even remember what you got 2 Black Fridays ago? If you bought something, you're rich. If you don't remember what you got and you don't even care about it, and it was of no significance to you, you're probably top 3%. So, anything you want to say about that?
No, I just want to make them go the right way right now.
say is that riches don't always equal happiness. Okay, you know that if you get like up to like in America, I've heard it said, statistician, whatever, people who make statistics, statisticians, yeah, I think that's the word. They've said that up to $60,000 a year. If you make less than that and then you make more, up to 60,000 a year, it will increase your happiness. So they say. But I've heard beyond that, it does more money, more problems. And okay, there we are. We're back. We are back. Okay, so some of the most depressed people in the world are the people with the most money. The people who had the world, gained the world, and lost their soul. I think her name's Kate Spade, top fashion icon, killed herself. Robin Williams, top actor, top comedian, killed himself. Heath Ledger, Anthony Bourdain, traveled the world, around the world, literally every nation, eating. Avicii. People at the top of their game who have what everybody else begs for, wants for. That is the dream, not just the American dream, the world dream. Just listening to one of my favorite artists, and just last night, and it's a mainstream artist, and her name's Coffee. I love that. Gratitude is a must. Blessings fall upon life, I know whatever she's saying. She's talking about always giving thanks. And this new single talks about giving thanks. But then, like, two of the verses, she's spitting, gotta get that paper, gotta get that money, gotta get that money. It's like, are you not realizing that will not make you happy? The person who wins the Super Bowl sits down in his lazy boy with the ring on his finger saying, man, I'm empty. I'm not happy. What the heck? You are blessed if you have spare change in your house. You're one of the top 5% richest people in the world. Chances are, if you live in a place like America or certain places in Europe, you're one of the richest, top 1 or 2% in the world. I know that sounds like you're a villain. You're not. God bless you. Give thanks for what you've got. I don't have to tell the poor people to give thanks for what they have. They do daily, but we don't. We take it for granted. Just take it for granted. And I want to encourage you to no longer do that. If you're watching this on a $1,000 iPhone, don't feel guilty. Just give thanks. And now, what are you going to do with your life? What are you going to do? Is it about you? The world will tell you every single marketing campaign, have it your way. It's all about you. Put you in the center. Put you in the south. When we were in Mauritius the other day, we were talking to my friend who God transformed his life. He brought him out of Satanism. What? Out of worshiping Satan. We said, what did you worship? What was it like? What's the heart of it? He said, well, Anthony, actually the head of the Satanic Church said that the heart of Satanism isn't about worshiping Satan. It's about worshiping self. It's about putting self first. And that is the heart of all marketing. That is the heart of Black Friday. Nothing is bad. That's the heart of Cyber Monday. But that's not the heart of Giving Tuesday. And that's not the heart of a missionary, of a musicianary. And that's not the heart of God, of Christ. That shouldn't be the heart of the church. We should give thanks. We should have an attitude like my friend Arnold. This kid featured in our music video, Asante Sana, little boy. He's not an actor by any means. You can see it when you watch it. But he is the light of our lives. Every time that we would go to Kibera, we would come back and we would say, what was your favorite thing? And I always debrief and talk about it. And every single one would say, man, there's this one kid. And we all had our one kid. Until one day we realized that one kid was the same kid, right?
Yeah.
Oh man, we love this kid. You can see him wearing a red shirt in the next to me in part of the video. You can see him wearing a green shirt in the rest of the video. But his story of having to go and ask somebody for food, that's Kibera. Yeah. Of a family member helping, that's Kibera. Yeah. Of them giving thanks when they got it and being more grateful than you will with your leftovers that you don't eat of turkey, no guilt trip. Today, yes, they will be more grateful for that little piece of chapati than we are for that turkey that we are not cleaning off completely, that we are not breaking the bones and sucking the bones dry and sucking the marrow out of life, right?
Yeah.
First time you watched me eat a chicken leg, you're like, what the heck are you doing? Right?
Yeah.
How do you eat it? How did you eat it when you used to eat chicken?
You down to the marrow. You crack those bones and you suck the marrow, get every substance of it.
Our joy doesn't come from our stuff. It doesn't come from our status. Don't let your possessions possess you. Do not. Please, please, please. And I want to encourage you in closing with something that, well, Jesus, people think that the church and Christianity is against sin. Yeah. We don't like sin that doesn't like you, right? It's hurting you. And people think, oh, wow, I mentioned LGBT or things like that. Oh, we just, Christians or Christ was like all about hating gays. It's not the case at all. He loves everybody. He just doesn't want you to stay in your sin. But do you know what he talked about pretty much more than anything else? Money. He talked about money. It's not that money is bad or evil. Money isn't a thing and can't have a personality. But the love of it is what he said was the root of all evil. So he didn't see money as the root of all evil. And I know that because our greatest supporters are giving from a surplus, whether it's $5 a month or whether it's 50 or 500. And our greatest supporters, they have a very large surplus. Is it bad that they're rich? Absolutely not. They're blessed. But it's what they do with it that matters. Is it about giving more? Getting more so you can give more? Or getting more so you can take more? Are you a giver or a taker? If you're a taker, you've been taken by the dark side of the force, if you will. I guess what I'm trying to say is that don't see money as bad. Don't see things as bad. But focus on the provider, not on his provision. And it's what you do with that. It's what you do. It's the love of money. And that's the root of all evil. And what God wants in your life is for nothing to come above him, nothing to come before him. He must come first. So do you own your money or does your money own you? Not attacking the rich, giving thanks for them. But what I found is that the people on the hilltop so high, they think they're living the life in Palos Verdes, where I live. But do they have eternal life? Do they have an abundant life? Or are they stressed about their possessions? Are they possessed by their possessions? Are they happy? My best friend growing up, best friend, I admired him, man. His brother worked for the top radio station. He got backstage to meet every artist you could imagine in the 80s. Billy Idol, Thompson Twins, Oingo Boingo, Danny Elfman. Man, I admired him. His parents were rich. I went into his parents' bedroom one time, and I saw hundreds of pills they were taking. I caught up with him a while back. I said, how's it going, man? How's your family? Oh, Dad died from stomach cancer. Mom commits suicide. How's your brother? We're estranged. We don't talk to each other. What happened? Fighting over the estate, warring over money. That's the American dream, right? That's living the life. I don't live in the Palos Verdes Peninsula anymore. We live in the foothills, like the very bottom of it. And it's funny. There's this street, like right where we live, PCH, Pacific Coast Highway. One side of the street, houses are a little better. The other side, a little worse, a little more ghetto. We live in a rootsier area, if you would. But what we have is so much greater than the toilets that we just saw in Vietnam, than the streets that we just saw in Thailand, than the pollution that we saw everywhere in Laos, and the sickness that we see in places. We have so much to give thanks for, and you do too. So here are some three takeaways that I want to encourage you with as I go. Okay, three takeaways. Number one, live for God, put Him first. Tithe, well, you just tithe. Always giving thanks. That's God's will in your life. Focus on the provider, not the provision. Focus on the provider, not the provision. You got to see things from a different lens, okay? So when we were just in Thailand, we did a Ripley's Believe It or Not adventure, and we put on these glasses here, fancy glasses. And once I put them on, oh snap! Everything is seen differently. Let me see if I can do this to the lens here. You see that? Everything's seen like, whoa, what's that, man? What the heck is going on? We saw things through a different lens, and things were scary when we walked into certain rooms. But when we took them off, they weren't. See things through a different lens. And that different lens is what we call the missionary mindset. So I want to encourage you today to give thanks for what you have. Okay? But let's take it a step further. I want you to think about complaining just for 1 second. And then instead of complaining about that thing, like, oh gosh, it's raining today, play the at least game. At least my windshield wipers work. At least I'm not having to walk to my brother's house. At least we're in a safe car that has
That the roof doesn't leak.
that the roof doesn't leak. Tell them about that. Tell them about that.
No, we had with our first car, I think our party.
Yeah.
We really struggling. So
We got it in a repossessed car lot.
We loved it. But whenever it rains, it used to pour in the car. One time we tried to take it to the
Car wash.
and I mean, like this amount of water coming in.
Yeah, so I was in the car wash. Go ahead and get over to you, right, baby? I was in the car wash, and the rain. We had one of these sunroof things. I think that it was. I just realized it was a repossessed car. They probably broke into it by going into the sunroof.
Yeah.
So I got at least 10 gallons of water baptized on my lap while in the car wash. So give thanks that the car doesn't leak. So what is your at least? At least, like, we complained the other day, get over one more. We complained the other day, 24-hour travel day. At least I didn't have to walk. Traveled 750 miles like Jonah did to minister to Nineveh. At least I have comfortable shoes. Didn't have to walk in sandals. At least I have a shower, right?
Yeah.
You know, the thing that I thank God for the most in our house is our bathroom. A toilet that you don't have to balance yourself over instead of a hole in the ground. Fresh running water. Hot water. You ever taken a missionary shower? How did you used to take a shower? You used to take a bucket shower, right? Tell us about it.
Yeah. Um, take a bucket of water from the river. Have a like these in France?